Before we start, hit subscribe and drop comment if you love these stories. All right, today's one is absolutely crazy. Let's dive in.
Chapter 1. Unpaid Rent. Unsaid Words. I worked nights because nights paid more and asked fewer questions. The warehouse didn't care what I wanted to be. Cared that boxes moved. I liked that about it. By the time I got home, the apartment was already awake in the ways it shouldn't be. Pipes clicking. Someone upstairs pacing like they were counting steps to nowhere. A Honda alarm down the block that no one bothered turning off. The place only went quiet when I needed it to listen. Jessica was on the couch with her laptop open, scrolling without looking. The TV was on mute. Some talent show, people smiling too wide. "You're late," she said, not accusing, just noting. Shift ran long, she nodded. That was the pause. Not an end. Just a bookmark we kept returning to. I dropped my bag by the door and checked the counter. One envelope. Rent notice. Not urgent yet, but close enough to smell. I didn't pick it up. I knew what it said. I poured a glass of water instead. The tap coughed before it worked. Even it sounded tired. "You hear back?" she asked. "Not yet." Another nod. Another pause. The label contest had been running for months. Online submissions, regional cuts. Judges who didn't know your name until they needed to pronounce it wrong. I'd passed the first round last Thursday. That was supposed to feel like momentum. Instead, it felt like something fragile I shouldn't touch too hard. Jessica closed the laptop, not angry, focused. My mom called. She said, "Yeah." She asked if we're coming for her birthday. "When is it?" 3 weeks. I did the math without meaning to. Overtime shifts, bills, gas, groceries that lasted shorter every week. "I'll see," I said. She looked at me then, just long enough to register the answer. "You always say that." I know. That was the conversation. We didn't argue anymore. We stalled. We let words sit unfinished until they dried up. I went into the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. The mattress dipped the same way it always did. Permanent impression, like proof someone had been there long enough to matter. My notebook was where I left it. Under the bed, wrapped in an old hoodie. Corners bent, pages thick with ink and pressure. I pulled it out and flipped through without reading. Dates in the margins, crossed out lines, arrows pointing nowhere. It didn't look impressive. It looked worked. I thumbed my phone and opened a voice memo from 4 nights ago. Static at first, then my voice low, tired, still sharp. I listened with one ear volume down. The walls were thin. Confidence didn't travel well in this place. Jessica leaned in the doorway. "You writing again?" she asked. "Always?" She smiled, but it didn't reach far. "You should sleep." After this, she stepped closer, picked up the notebook, flipped a page. "You ever think about making something catchier?" she asked. "Not critical, practical. It's catchy enough." "For who?" I didn't answer. Not because I didn't have one. Because any answer would turn into something else. She set the notebook back where she found it. "I just want us to be okay," she said. "I know." She waited. I didn't add anything. Eventually, she nodded and went back to the living room. I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The stain near the corner looked like it was spreading, but it never did. Something stayed right where they were. I rehearsed my verse in my head. No beat, just cadence, breath marks, places to slow down, places to cut words off early. I mouthed one line without sound and stopped. Even silent, it felt too loud. When Jessica came back to bed, she faced the other wall. Her phone lit up once, then went dark. I didn't ask who it was. We both learned not to. "You working tomorrow?" she asked. "Yeah, night again." "Yeah," she sighed. Not dramatic, just air leaving. "Okay," she said. I waited for something else. It didn't come. The apartment settled into its late-night rhythm. Pipes, footsteps, a siren too far away to matter. I thought about the contest, about the judges, about how close I was to something changing and how nothing had yet. I didn't picture a future. I pictured the next shift, the next verse, the next envelope. That was enough to get through the night. I closed my eyes and kept rapping silently until sleep finally did what it was supposed to do. Chapter 2. The Notebook. I didn't keep my lyrics anywhere safe. Just familiar. The notebook stayed under the bed, wrapped in an old hoodie that smelled like detergent and dust. The cover was split at the spine, pages swollen from sweat and coffee. I liked it that way. If it ever looked clean, it meant I hadn't used it enough. I wrote with a cheap pen because expensive ones made me careful. Careful killed momentum. I pressed hard, let the ink bleed when it needed to. If a line didn't work, I crossed it out once and moved on. No erasing, no pretending it never happened. Most mornings before work, I'd sit at the small kitchen table and reread whatever I'd written the night before. No beat, just voice in my head. I tapped the table twice before starting. Same every time. Habit mattered. Kept the words honest. Jessica knew the routine. She'd be getting ready for work, moving through the apartment like she was already late for something else. She'd pour coffee, check her phone, glance over. "You still stuck on that one?" she asked once, pointing at the notebook. "It's not stuck," I said. "It's waiting." She smiled like she wasn't convinced. "Does it pay yet?" "Not today." She nodded and went back to her phone. Sometimes I showed her lines, not because I needed approval. Because she was there, because that's what you did when someone shared your bed and your bills. I'd read quietly. No performance, just words. She listened, but not closely. Her eyes tracked my mouth. "Not the lines. That one's good," she said. "Once. That could get you somewhere." "Where?" I asked. She shrugged. "Somewhere better than here." She never asked what the line meant. Never asked when I wrote it. Never asked what it cost. Only what it could turn into. At night after my shift, I recorded voice memos on my phone. Low volume, closet door closed. I'd stand between hanging jackets like they could block sound. I'd rap softly, almost talking, stopping whenever I felt the cadence slip. If a neighbor coughed, I paused. If Jessica shifted in bed, I paused. I waited for silence to cooperate. Once I came out of the bedroom and saw her holding my phone. She looked up. "Your screen was on." "Yeah, I just turned it off." "Okay." She handed it back like it didn't matter, like she hadn't noticed the app open, like she hadn't listened. I didn't ask, not because I trusted her blindly, because nothing about it felt wrong yet. Suspicion needs a reason. I didn't have one. One afternoon, she asked, "Why don't you back this stuff up?" "Don't need to." "What if you lose it?" "I won't." She laughed lightly. "You say that about everything." I slid the notebook back under the bed and pulled the hoodie over it. "Some things," I said, "you don't scatter." She didn't respond. Just nodded like she'd heard a preference, not a principle. Later, I caught her flipping through the notebook while I tied my boots for work. Not sneaking, just curious. She stopped when she noticed me watching. "Is that okay?" she asked. "Yeah." She read a few lines, then closed it. "You should really show this to more people," she said. "You never know who might help." "Help how?" She smiled again. "Same one, open doors." I left for work thinking about doors. Who built them? Who decided who got keys? That night after my shift, I reread everything I'd written that week. Same routine, same table, same 2 taps. Nothing felt missing. I put the notebook back where it belonged and went to bed. Jessica was already asleep, facing the wall. Her phone was on the nightstand, screen down. I lay there listening to the apartment breathe and went over my verse again. Quiet, controlled, mine. At the time, that was all it needed to be. Chapter 3. Borrowed applause. The venue looked like it had been assembled an hour before we arrived. Folding chairs and uneven rows. A stage that creaked when people walked across it. Lights clipped to stands like they didn't trust the ceiling. The sound system hummed even when no one was touching it. I checked in, got a number written on my wrist with a marker that was already running dry. Smelled like sweat and cables. Everyone acted calm in the way people do when they're pretending not to count exits. Jessica wasn't with me. She said she had something to do. Didn't say what. I didn't ask. Backstage was a hallway with no doors, just bodies leaning against walls, phones out, headphones in, guys nodding to beats only they could hear. A few were pacing, whispering bars to themselves. One guy was shadowboxing, jabbing at nothing. I stood still, let my shoulders drop, slow breath in, slower out. Same thing I did before every shift. Same thing I did before every verse. Yo, you up tonight? The guy next to me asked. Yeah. He nodded. Good luck. Same. Names were called. People went up. Some shouted. Some rushed their verses. Some froze and laughed it off like that was part of the act. The crowd was forgiving in a bored way. Then they called Emperor Blaze. The name got a reaction before he even showed up. A few cheers, a few phones lifted higher. He walked on stage like he knew where to stand without looking. Tall, clean jacket, head up. He didn't test the mic. Just waited for the beat like it owed him something. The beat dropped. First, I was just listening. That's what you do. You listen. Then my shoulders tightened. It wasn't the voice. Voices lie all the time. It was the space between the words. The way he let certain lines breathe. The way he rushed one bar and dragged the next. I felt it in my jaw before I felt it anywhere else. He hit a metaphor that landed clean. The crowd reacted right where it was supposed to. Laughter. Couple of shouts. I learned hunger. It just waste quiet in the cupboards. I counted my word by the ink that I spent. Every crossed out line was a debt I repay. I slept with my doubts like they paid me rent. Woke up still tired, still haven't sent. If God got a plan, he don't text it back. So I move with the faith I invent. I roll my name small in the margins of knife. Let the world miss me. I sharpen the knife. Every pause in my breath got a reason to live. I don't rush truth. I let it arrive. My stomach dropped. I shifted my weight and felt my foot slide slightly on the concrete floor. I hadn't realized I was leaning forward. He kept going. There was a pause before a line half a beat longer than expected. I'd argued with myself about that pause for days, whether it was too much, whether it gave away the setup. The crowd leaned in. He delivered it. Perfect timing. Someone yelled, "That's cold." My hands went numb. I didn't look around. I didn't skin faces. I stared at the edge of the stage and counted the screws in the wood. One was stripped. Someone had tried to fix it and failed. He finished till loud applause. Phones up. People nodding like they understood something important had just happened. I didn't clap. I realized my breathing was off. Too shallow. I forced air in through my nose. Slow, controlled. The host grabbed the mic. "Give it up for Emperor Blaze." More noise. Someone whistled. He smiled small, confident, like this was expected. I waited for the next performer to go up and fix it, to say something that made it clear I was wrong. That lines just overlapped sometimes. That patterns repeated that I was tired. They didn't. The next guy rapped loud and fast and sloppy. The crowd reacted differently, less focused, more polite. I felt the difference like pressure in my ears. A guy behind me said, "That Blaze dude's got something." Yeah. Another voice said, "Sounds real." I stayed where I was. My mouth was dry. I didn't remember swallowing. My heart wasn't racing. It was steady, too steady, like it had already decided panic wouldn't help. I didn't accuse him. I didn't say my name. I didn't look for Jessica. I listened until the set ended, until the applause faded into the general noise of people shifting and talking again. I told myself there would be an explanation later, that there had to be, but explanations come from somewhere. And standing there watching someone take a bow for words, I remembered bleeding onto paper at 4 o'clock in the morning. I already knew where this one didn't. Chapter 4. Judged Original. The judges didn't rush. They never did. They leaned toward each other like this was a normal night, like nothing had just shifted in the room. Patterson spoke first. He always did. He had a way of sounding thoughtful without sounding impressed. "What we're looking for," he said into the mic, "is an original voice." A few people nodded like they'd heard that sentence before and agreed with it out of habit. "Not just skill," he continued. "Ownership. You can hear when someone's lived inside their words." I kept my eyes on the floor. The wood near the stage was scuffed down to gray. Shoes had passed over it enough times to erase whatever color it started with. Patterson gestured toward the stage. "Emperor Blaze showed us that tonight." Applause came on cue. It sounded practiced. I clapped once because my hands were already moving and stopping them would have taken more effort than letting it happen. Another judge leaned forward. Confidence control. That's not something you borrow. My jaw tightened. I didn't move it back. They called my number. I stood up because standing was automatic. My legs worked fine. I took one step toward the stage and felt the mic cord shift under someone else's shoe. A small sound. Plastic on concrete. I stopped. The notebook wasn't in my hands. It was back home under the bed. Even if it had been there, it wouldn't have helped. Rapping those lines now would mean explaining them. It would mean defending something that had already been accepted without me. I looked at the stage. The lights were brighter than before. Same space, different weight. Whenever you're ready, the host said. I wasn't scared. I wasn't blank. I was early. There's a difference. I sat back down. The host hesitated long enough for people to notice. Not long enough to make it a moment. We'll move on, he said, adjusting the mic like the decision belonged to equipment, not people. The judges leaned in again. Pins tapped paper. Pages turned. Someone cleared their throat. The room felt farther away than it had 15 minutes earlier. Patterson looked up. The contract offer goes to. He said the name. Applause filled the space where my verse should have been. It didn't feel loud. It felt distant, like it was happening behind glass. Emperor Blaze stood and smiled. He walked to the stage and shook hands. Cameras came up. Someone slapped his shoulder. Jessica was near the sidewall. I saw her turn when the applause started. She didn't look at me, not once. I stayed seated until the chairs around me started folding. That sound pulled me back into my body. Metal legs collapsing. The night moving forward without waiting. When I stood, my knees felt fine. Everything did. Outside, the air was colder than I expected. People talked about sets they liked. About what they do with a contract. About how the judges knew real when they heard it. I walked past them and didn't stop. Losing publicly hurt less than I thought it would. Losing quietly to someone who had shared my bed felt like something else entirely. I didn't say anything about it. I went home and sat on the edge of the bed until the apartment stopped sounding empty. Then I turned the light off and let the silence stay. Chapter 5. Sign here. The kitchen light was already on when I came home. That meant she was waiting. Jessica sat at the table with a folder placed neatly in front of her. Not stacked. Not messy. Aligned with the edge like it belonged there. Her coat was still on. Keys beside her phone. Ready to go. I didn't ask what it was. I knew. I set my bag down and sat across from her. The chair made the same small scrape it always did. Nothing dramatic, just what on tile. She opened the folder and slid the papers toward me. One smooth motion. I filed this morning, she said. I looked at the top page. My name was spelled right. That felt intentional. Okay, I said. She watched me for a second like she expected something else. When it didn't come, she continued, I don't want this to be ugly. It won't be. Another pause, shorter this time. She rested her hands on the table, fingers together. Comb. You know, I took the notebook, she said. I didn't react. Not because it didn't land, because it already had. I gave it to Daniel. She said his real name, not the stage one like that mattered for exposure, she added. At first, I repeated. He knew people. He had access, I thought. She stopped herself. Adjusted. I knew you wouldn't use it fast enough. I nodded once. You didn't ask, I said. She met my eyes. No apology in them. No guilt either. I didn't need to. That was the truth of it. Clean, efficient. This isn't personal, she said. It's about the future. I can't keep waiting for potential. I glanced at the second page. Signature line at the bottom. A pen already clipped to the folder. I waited. She continued softer now. I really did. I know, she exhaled like that was a relief. You'll be okay, she said. You're talented. You'll figure something out. I picked up the pen. Felt lighter than it should have. Where do I sign? I asked. She pointed. No hesitation. I signed once. Clean. No flourish. No pause. She gathered the papers immediately, slid them back into the folder, stood up. I'll grab my things tomorrow, she said. I'll text. Take whatever you need, I said. She hesitated at the doorway. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said. I know that answer seemed to unsettle her more than anger would have. She nodded, picked up her keys, and left. The door closed. Not slammed, just closed. The apartment sounded different without her moving through it. Wider, like air had room again. I stayed at the table, didn't look at the walls, didn't touch the papers she'd forgotten on the counter. I just sat there and listened to the fridge hum. After a while, I realized something important. She took the notebook. She took the marriage. She took the shortcut. She didn't take my voice. I stood up, turned off the kitchen light, and went into the bedroom. The space felt cleaner than it had in months. That was enough for the night. Chapter 6. King Without a Crown. I found out they got married the same way I found out most things now. Through a screen, a photo showed up on my feed between a sneaker ad and a clip from the contest. Jessica in a white dress that looked rented. Emperor Blaze beside her in a suit that didn't quite settle on his shoulders. They were smiling like people who'd rehearsed it. The caption said something about timing, about alignment, about real talent finally being recognized. I didn't tap like. I didn't comment. I didn't zoom in. I set my phone face down and went back to work. I picked up extra shifts. Nights bled into mornings. The warehouse stayed the same. Concrete floors, fluorescent lights, the same supervisor who never learned my name. Boxes didn't care who you used to be married to. They just needed moving. At break, a guy I worked with leaned over the table. You rap, right? He asked. Yeah, you see that Blaze dude on socials? He's blowing up. I took a sip of coffee. Burnt. Cheap. Good for him, I said. The guy nodded like that settled it. I wrote less. Not because I didn't have anything to say, because saying it felt premature. Words needed room. I didn't have any yet. Every now and then, a clip would autoplay before I could stop it. Blaze in a studio. Blaze laughing in an interview. Blaze talking about authenticity like it was something you stumbled into. His voice sounded familiar in a way that didn't belong to him. It wasn't anger that came up. It was something closer to discomfort, like seeing someone else walk out wearing your jacket. Same sleeves, same cut, but the shoulders sat wrong. The movements didn't match the seams. Jessica posted again a week later. Rings, champagne glasses, hashtags about growth. I muted her. Not dramatically, just practical. At home, the apartment stayed quiet. I cooked for one. Ate standing up most nights. Slept deeper than I expected. When the phone stayed silent, I didn't miss it. One evening, my mother called. You okay? She asked. I'm fine, she paused. I saw the pictures. Yeah, that was fast. Some people don't like waiting. She didn't push. She'd learn when to stop asking. You still writing? She asked. Some that's good. Yeah. After the call, I sat on the edge of the bed and scrolled once more. Blaze again on stage this time. New crowd, same cadence. I shut the app before the sound could finish loading. I didn't hate him. That surprised me. Hate would have been simpler, cleaner. What I felt instead was distance, like he was already past a point I hadn't decided to reach yet. I went to work the next day, then the next. The music stayed muted. The noise didn't. Chapter 7. Receipts. I didn't need to listen to anything to know what he'd done. I already knew. The call about my mother came during a break. I stepped outside because that's where the noise was lower. My aunt's voice didn't shake. She didn't dress it up. She passed this morning, she said. I said okay. Not because it was okay, because that was the only word that didn't fall apart in my mouth. I finished the shift, drove home, sat in the Toyota longer than necessary. The world didn't slow down just because mine did. Inside the apartment, everything felt temporary again, like it did before the contest, before Jessica, before believing in timing. My mom never cared about rap. She cared about effort, about ownership, about not letting people rename your work after you were gone. Don't let anybody tell your story for you, she used to say, especially if they didn't live it. That was the moment. Not rage, not revenge, clarity. I pulled the box from the closet where I kept old phones. 4 of them. Cracked screens, dead batteries. I charged them one by one, not to listen to date. Voice memos weren't memories now. They were records. I didn't play them. I didn't need to hear my voice again. I labeled files, matched timestamps, exported originals, checked metadata. Everything clean, everything quiet. This wasn't art. This was accounting. I uploaded the first memo to a small music blog that still let you submit without a profile picture or a press kit. No explanation, no name, just sound and a date. 3 days later, I uploaded another somewhere else. Same cadence, same pauses, earlier timestamps. I didn't accuse anyone. I didn't need to. People started connecting it for me. Comments showed up under reposts. This sounds familiar. Didn't Blaze do something like this last month? Why does this feel older? I stayed silent. After the third drop, someone messaged me directly. You wrote this before he did, didn't you? I replied with a question. Does it sound like it? That was enough. I started posting short clips on my own page. No captions, just files, dates visible if you knew where to look. I let the internet do what it always does when you give it a puzzle. The tone changed. People stopped praising Blaze's originality and started asking where it came from. Blogs didn't accuse him outright. They compared. Analysts love comparisons. They feel responsible that way. I never said his name, but I didn't stop them either. That was the fight. Not fists, not shouting. Just letting the truth stack itself high enough to be seen. I closed the laptop and sat back. For the first time since the contest, I wasn't reacting to anything. I was moving slow, deliberate, on beat. And this time I didn't need anyone's permission to let my voice be heard. Chapter 8. Say it on beat. By the time I said anything, the conversation was already happening without me. Blogs stopped using words like inspired by. They switched to similar to. Then they stopped qualifying it at all. Screenshots circulated. Side-by-side waveforms. People arguing in comment sections like they'd personally been wronged. I didn't correct them. I didn't thank them either. I waited until the noise leveled out, until it became background instead of momentum. Then I posted one sentence. Live battle, same stage, judges present. Say it on beat. No name, no tag, no explanation. It didn't need one. My phone started buzzing before I put it down. Messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Producers, bloggers. A guy from the contest staff asking if I was serious. I didn't reply. An hour later, Emperor Blaze went live. He smiled the whole time, leaned back in his chair like the room belonged to him. People be reaching, he said, but I'm always down to rap. That's what I do. He accepted without hesitation. Confidence does that. Convinces you the ground is solid even when you haven't checked it. Someone in the comments asked if the judges would be there. He nodded. Why not? Let him hear it. That was all I needed. The official account posted the announcement that night. Same venue, same panel, different energy. Tickets sold out in minutes. People love rematches. They like the idea of fairness returning to the room. Jessica texted me for the first time in weeks. You don't have to do this. I stared at the screen. The message sat there like it was waiting to be forgiven. It's already done. I typed back. She didn't reply. The night before the battle, I didn't rehearse. I didn't pace. I didn't check comments. I opened my notebook once, not to add anything, just to confirm what was already there. The words didn't feel borrowed anymore. They felt patient. When I lay down, sleep came easy. That surprised me. This wasn't about pride. Pride rushes. This was about timing. And this time, the beat was finally mine to count in. Chapter 9. The battle. The line wrapped around the block. I saw it through the side door before I heard it. People pressed close together like warmth mattered. Phones already up. Everyone ready to catch something before it happened. Inside, the room was louder than last time. Not rowdy, focused, the kind of noise that meant people thought something was about to get settled. I didn't look for Jessica. I didn't look for Blaze. I went straight to the mic and rested my hand on the stand. Cold metal always was. It grounded me. Patterson nodded from the judge's table. No smile, just acknowledgement. Fair, not friendly. Devin Stone, the host said. Then after a beat, Stone. The name landed differently this time. Less curiosity, more recognition. You go first. The beat came in low, stripped down, no tricks, just enough to hold a spine. I didn't wait for the crowd to decide how they felt. I started before they could. I didn't insult him. I didn't raise my voice. I rapped where I'd been when I wrote each line. The nights, the shifts, the kitchen table with one leg shorter than the others. The pauses I took because the walls were thin. The words I crossed out because they were too easy. I let the verses breathe. I let silence do its job. I wrote this line with my boots still on. Warehouse dust in my lungs at dawn. Counting my breath like overtime pay. Every pause I took was a bill I delay. I don't rap fast. I rap where I live. Same for a wall, same clock that slip. If you hear hunger, that's 'cause it stay in my chest till it learn my name. I didn't borrow pain, I archived it. Day-nights, I survived them. You can wear the words, but they don't move right 'cause truth got way and it shifts in time. The room changed somewhere in the middle. Not loud, just attentive. People stopped whispering. Phones stopped moving. Someone in the front row lowered theirs without realizing. I finished and stepped back. Blaze smiled when it was his turn. He always did. He leaned into the mic like he was stepping into a role he'd rehearsed. I came up from the bottom, now front of the line. Turn late nights into platinum time. They doubt what they see, but I prove them wrong. Every step I took just made me strong. I don't look back, I don't second guess. Pressure made diamonds. I handle stress. If they talk behind me, let them stay there. I earn this spot. I breathe rare air. I pay my dues. This crown ain't borrowed. Every word mine I earn tomorrow. I speak my truth. No mask, no lies. Every bar real, every verse baptized. This is my moment. I take what's mine. No looking back. I was built to shine. I pay my dues. This crown ain't borrowed. Every word mine I earn. Tomorrow. The second time he hit the hook, he held the mic out to the crowd. They repeated it. Not everyone, but enough. I paid my dues. This crown ain't borrowed. The echo came back thinner than it should have. I stepped forward before the beat could reset. Didn't raise my voice. Didn't rush the space he left behind. I waited half a beat longer than expected. Just enough. 4 years ago, I said, Wednesday night, kitchen table, one broken chair. No rap yet, just facts. The room didn't cheer. They leaned. I came in on beat. You say it's not borrowed, so let's talk dates. Same pause you breathe on. I took it in place. When the sink wouldn't stop and the rent was late. The hook you repeat. I wrote it too late. You earned tomorrow. I paid it already. Enter a stack while my hands stay steady. You say it's yours. So say where you were. When those words learn wake before they learn blur, someone laughed, not mocking, not loud, recognizing Blaze smiled again, but it stayed too long. He leaned back into the mic. I already said what I had to say, my work speak loud. I don't explain, the beat kept going. He nodded, tried to catch it. Missed the pocket. He stopped. No hook this time. No call for the crowd. Someone near the judge's table lowered his phone and didn't bring it back up. That's when it shifted. Not applause, not boos. Silence, the kind that meant people were recalculating. The hook didn't sound confident anymore. It sounded defensive, and nobody repeated it the next time he tried. When he finished, a few people clapped early, then stopped like they were waiting for something else. I stepped forward again. The beat didn't change. It didn't need to. I didn't look at him. I didn't need to. You performed a song. I remember the day. The smell of cold coffee to rent overdue. That breath you pause on. I took it at 5. When the city was quiet and nobody knew. I don't chase applause. I let echoes decide. You rap like it's rented. I rap like it's mine. Same line, same breaks, different weight. 'Cause memory bends. What delivering can't fake. Someone near the back said, "Oh, not loud. Just loud enough." The crowd didn't erupt. It shifted like furniture being moved without scraping. Heads turned. People nodded slowly. Recognition traveled faster than noise ever did. Patterson leaned forward. One of the other judges stopped writing. I finished and stepped back. I felt steady. Not proud. Not angry. Just aligned. Like everything had finally landed where it was supposed to. The room understood before the judges did. That was fine. Truth always landed where it landed first. Chapter 10. Authorship. The beat cut out before anyone asked for it. Not a fade, a hard stop. Patterson stood up. The room followed him without realizing it. Chair shifted. Cough died halfway out. That's enough, he said. No anger, no volume, just control. He looked at me first, then at Blaze like he was weighing something already decided. We're not finishing this on instinct, Patterson said. We're finishing it on record. A tech stepped up from the side of the stage. Laptop already open, cable in hand. The screen behind us flickered to life. Dates appeared, file names, metadata too small to read from the back, but clear enough for anyone who knew what they were looking at. Patterson pointed. These demos were submitted to the platform 4 years ago. Unreleased. Timestamped. Account holder Devin Stone. The room stayed quiet, not tense. Expectant. A short audio clip played. My voice younger, rougher. Same pauses. Same drag before certain words. No beat underneath. Just air and breath. Then another clip. Same lines. Same hook. Different date. Earlier Patterson didn't explain the difference. He didn't need to. Blaze stepped forward. Look, man. He started. Patterson held up a hand. Blaze stopped. This isn't about influence, Patterson said. It's about authorship. Someone near the back let out a low whistle. It died fast. Another file opened. Scans of notebook pages. Ink pressure visible even on a screen. Margins filled. Crossouts left in place. This notebook was photographed and uploaded by the owner 3 years ago. Patterson said originals verified. Blaze shook his head. She gave it to me. He said, I didn't steal anything. She said it was okay. No one responded. Jessica stood near the sidewall, arms folded, face unreadable. She didn't step forward. She didn't deny it. She didn't look at me. That doesn't transfer authorship. Patterson said flat. Blaze tried again. Words rushed now. We collaborated. That's all. People do this all the time. Patterson turned back to the screen. Collaboration requires consent and credit. There's no record of either. Silence settled deeper. Not dramatic. Final Patterson closed the laptop. This competition is suspended, he said. Effective immediately. A murmur started. Stopped. The contract offer issued earlier is withdrawn. Blaze opened his mouth. Closed it again. Patterson looked at me. Just once. We'll be in touch. That was it. No applause. No cheers. No victory music. Just people standing still. Recalibrating what they'd watched. Jessica left before anyone noticed. I didn't follow. I stepped away from the mic and let the stand sit empty. The room didn't ask for more. The truth had said enough. Chapter 11. Original voice. They didn't make a show of it. No lights, no stage, no announcement to a waiting crowd. Just an email with a subject line that didn't try to be clever. Contract revised. I opened it at the kitchen table. Same one, same uneven leg. I slid a folded napkin underneath so it wouldn't wobble. The language was clean, direct. My name appeared where it was supposed to be. No qualifiers, no footnotes, no explanations attached. Later that afternoon, I went downtown. Patterson met me in a conference room that smelled like coffee and printer toner. No entourage, no lawyers circling. Just a table, a chair, and a folder already waiting. He stood when I came in. Devin, he said. Richard. He slid the folder across the table. We should have caught it earlier, he said. Not defensive, not apologetic. Accurate. You did catch it, I said. Eventually, he nodded. Accepted that. This contract reflects authorship, he said. Nothing more, nothing less. I opened it. Read the first page, then the signature line. He watched me, not impatient. You want to take it home? He asked. No, I said. I signed. One line. Clean. He stood again and offered his hand. I shook it. Firm, brief. That's your voice, he said. Don't let it wander. I won't. He let go first. There was no applause when I left the building. No one waiting outside. The city moved the same way it always did. Buses hissed. Someone argued into a phone. A Toyota alarm chirped once and stopped. I walked home instead of taking the train. When I got back, the apartment felt settled. Not empty, not full, balanced. I pulled the notebook from under the bed and placed it on the table, open to a blank page. I didn't rush to fill it. The words would come. They always did. This time, they knew exactly where they belonged. Chapter 12. Birthday parties. I heard it from a guy at the studio. Not gossip, just information passing through. Blaze is doing private gigs now, he said, scrolling through his phone. Kids' parties, stuff like that. I nodded, adjusted my headphones. What track you want next? He asked. Let's run it again, I said. From the top. The booth was small. Phone peeling at the corners. Mic scarred from years of use. It didn't matter. It held sound the way it was supposed to. Between takes, my phone buzzed. A message from a producer asking for stems. Another from a blog requesting a quote. I didn't answer either yet. The engineer leaned back in his chair. You ever think about responding to all that? No. He smiled. Fair. I stepped back up to the mic. The red light came on. In the headphones, my voice sounded right. Not loud, not polished, just placed where it belonged. After the session, I walked home. The city had learned my hours. Night air. Storefront lights half on. Someone laughing 3 blocks away. I passed a birthday party on the way. Balloons tied to a fence. A cardboard crown on a kid's head. Music playing from a cheap speaker. I didn't stop. I didn't look closer. At the apartment, I set my bag down and opened the notebook. New pages, clean margins. I wrote a line, crossed it out, wrote another. The mic wasn't borrowed anymore. It never would be again. I closed the notebook and went back to work. Thanks for listening to Devin's story about reclaiming what was stolen and proving ownership when it mattered most. What would you have done in his position? Confronted the theft immediately or built your case quietly like he did? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the story, like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more content. See you in the next one.